Performance, reliability, fun, and comfort. Things most enthusiasts want in whatever ride happens to grace the inside of their garage. But having a ride car that delivers all of the above can sometimes send your wallet into trauma. Enter the third generation Camaro F-bodies built from 1982 to 1992. They're underappreciated, a tad undervalued, but with the right modifications can be turned into one hell of a serious road machine.
Muscle cars were there, but they weren't as they are now, right? So if you had a 1975 Camaro, for instance, right? That wasn't cool. It was just old. There wasn't anything that nobody would come up to you. No woman would come up to you and be like, "Wow, I really like that Camaro." And they'd be like, "Wow, you're really poor." First gen Camaros back then were just starting to become cool. You know, second gen Trans Ams and stuff like that were not cool. These Camaros, when they were new, it was it. Front engine, rear drive, V8. That's a donut power slide animal. And these things were great at it. You could do donuts and slide these sons of bitches every which way from Sunday. And they just take them and take them and take them. They're really, really a lot of fun. Most third-gen Camaros have been hammered within an inch of their life to the point where, while they still run, they don't run well. This one is special. This car is an '89 Camaro iroc, 5.7-liter automatic car. Now, you know, you think about that and you go, oh, it's a standard iroc, whatever. Well, that's not the case. You see, the owner, Mike, has had this car since day one. He bought it brand new. He came out from driving Datsun 510s and he wanted a change. He saw these things racing in the Trans Am series and he said, you know what? Kind of digging that. And I'm glad he was digging it. This way we could dig it today.
I bought the car in 1989. I searched a lot of local dealerships looking for a red iroc, no T-top, which was pretty hard to find at the time. I found a dealership in Sunnyvale and they said they'd locate one for me, and this came from Ocean Chevrolet and right off the dealership floor. I used to watch racing on TV, and I watched the whole iroc series, and I saw, they came out with this car, and I said, this is a car for me. I got the bigger motor, but I didn't want T-tops. So to make it look more like a race car. Race cars don't have T-tops.
Most Camaros, third gens, do look dated. I mean, you kind of take a look and you're like, okay, that's, those wheels could be from 1986 or that paint from 1990, or whatever the case was. As an original owner car, he has kept this thing in immaculate condition. He truly has. From the factory, these cars were rattle cans. I mean, the doors rattled, the windows rattled, the dash rattled, the gauges rattled, the vents rattled, and that's from new, okay? Now, I don't know if you guys could tell, but there are no squeaks, there are no rattles. We're cruising along with the air conditioning on, and it's really comfortable. In person, this is a striking car to look at. As we've been filming, people have been coming up and just giving us the thumbs up and showing us, that's a great looking car. This is really, really cool. It's not just the red paint. It's got to do with the stance, the choosing of the correct wheels, the right color wheels, the way that the car kind of sits and feels. It's all of that stuff that comes together to make a complete package.
I started modifying the car probably as soon as I bought it. I didn't want a car that everybody has. I wanted something unique and something I could look in the parking lot and not see another one just like it. The main difference on the interior is the Recaro seats. I had the Recaro seats and covered back in the factory cloth. A seatbelt bar for shoulder belts. Most of the big panels are stock, but I've added a gauge pod, aftermarket gauges, and added a Momo steering wheel. I wanted to make changes, but I didn't want to make drastic changes, and I wanted to still have it look like a third-gen Camaro.
So he used to have, obviously, the original wheels, the 5 spokes that it came with. He swapped those out for a set of Firehawk wheels. After that, he swapped them out for these. Now, the wheels on this car are great. They're not overly expensive, but they're a nice deep disc with a gunmetal center and a polished lip, and they look really, really good. The car is big, right? But not necessarily that heavy. From the factory, they weigh just over 3,200 pounds, which isn't bad. Now, Thaddeus and I are big guys. We're both pushing 250. But the fact that our shoulders aren't anywhere near each other is great. We've got tons of room. The dashboard layout, if you look at this, the gauges are really deep. They're really inset. You've got these massive overhangs. The visibility out of this thing is great. There's no real blind spots. I mean, you've got big side windows, windshield. The rear hatch cover is huge. You can see everything, and you can fit a lot of stuff in this car. And even with the hatch, it's still got beautiful lines. If you would have ordered this car new, it would have come in a couple of different configurations. A standard iroc, for example, came with a 305, not the 350. If you wanted the 350, the 5.7, you could only get it in an automatic, which is exactly why Mike ordered it this way. It's now been stroked out to a 383, 6.3 liters. It makes probably close to around 400 horsepower at the wheels. And top it off, it's still smog legal. You gotta remember, we're in California, so anything post 1975 has to pass smog. And even by kind of playing with the engine and putting a little hotter cam into it, it still passes, which is great. Look under the hood of this car. It is spotless. And for a car with this many miles, and that's a driver, he keeps it up. He's hidden all the wires out of the way. He's made it nice and neat. Everything still looks factory, but it looks beautiful. That's kind of a testament to, I think, where these cars are going. With about 400 horsepower at the rear wheels, a lot of people are going to go, that's not that much power. It works in this configuration. For Mike, when he autocrosses, it's plenty of power to get this car jumping out of the hole. On a road course, it works. Like I said, if I nail it, right, it pulls really, really well. I mean, it'll go to triple digits in no time.
I started autocrossing, and I mean, I got to do something with the car that didn't seem to put it in too much harm's way. Got to have a lot of fun and, learn how to drive it a little bit better and keep testing and having a lot of fun. I've just slowly been working on it throughout the years and try to make it a driver autocross car. I started out with Beltec spindles and basically just lowered the car. But as time has gone, changing shocks and being able to change springs and just doing a little fine tuning to make it handle better.
Suspension-wise, it rides beautifully. The QA1 shocks, the tires that he has. He's got Falcon Azenas on this thing, the 615Ks, and while a little noisy, they're really, really good. He mini-tubbed the rear long time ago. So he's actually got 315s in the backs, and he runs 250 or 265s up front, if I'm not mistaken. These cars, when they were new, I remember them, they were very, very floaty. Like, you'd hit a bump and they would kind of do that type of thing. This one doesn't. The shock dampening in this is great. I mean, look at this. You're going through these nice tight sweepers. The car is just completely composed. And what's great is the way that they set the suspension up, it's not just leaning over on the bump stops and you're not just relying on the tires themselves to stick. The suspension is doing the work. As a driver, it's very communicative. It has a steering box, but the iroc steering boxes were actually of a faster ratio than the other cars, and it works. I have actually pretty good steering feel behind this thing. It's firm, but it's not over-assisted in any way. The nice part about a car like this, it's got a modern engine for the most part. I mean, it is fuel injected. We have all our amenities like power windows and power brakes, and the brakes, by the way, he has upgraded. They're basically, C4 Corvette calipers on 13-inch rotors, and works. I mean, it's basically the same kit that I have in my 68 Charger. So where does the iroc live today in the kind of realm of muscle cars? Well, it's still extremely, extremely affordable. You can get one for, I don't know, $8,000 on the low end to $15,000 for one of the best you could find. They're reliable. They have space. They're comfortable. Have they hit a stride yet? No, they haven't. This is a perfect starter car for anybody who wants to not only get into hot rodding, but get into pro touring. There are parts available. You can modify it. You could take them to the autocross. You could take them to the road course and really kind of wring them out. They're good cars. Now, Mike, over the years, has gone through great pains to make this one even better. Like I said, there's not a squeak, there's not a rattle. It's probably one of the nicest third gens, if not the best third gen I've ever driven. I mean, it's not just dialed in. It's a complete package. It feels modern. It just doesn't feel like a 26-year-old automobile, and it shows the potential that these cars have.